Waking up behind bars this morning after pleading guilty to 11 felony charges in connection with his $64 billion Ponzi scheme. Prosecutors are now looking at the Madoff family members and former employees to see if they played a part in the scam, with a look at what's ahead for Bernie and for all those connected with his firm. I'm joined by Larry Levine, a former federal inmate and founder of Wall Street Prison Consultants, and Sonny Haston, managing director of business intelligence and investigation at Kroll Incorporated, also a former federal prosecutor. Good morning to the two of you. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Good morning.
All right, Larry, let me start with you. You saw yesterday Bernie Madoff plead guilty. You have firsthand knowledge and experience of what it is like being in the federal prison system. What is he experiencing right now?
Well, he's waking up in a little tiny room probably for the first time in his life. He's all alone. He doesn't have anybody in there with him, I would imagine. He's in isolation. He probably didn't sleep at all. Let's back up. He's not waking up. He didn't sleep at all. The officers have come by every hour shining a flashlight through the little window on his cell door, and he's probably scared and frightened, not knowing what's going to happen. And I'd imagine about now they're going to open the door and slide a plastic tray in with his breakfast. And his day will probably begin by going to, I would say, medical, because they have to give him a complete physical to complete the admission process into the federal system.
You, over a 10-year sentence, were in, I think, 9 different facilities between high, medium, low, and minimum security levels. He is going to sit in this Metropolitan Correction Center now until the sentencing date on June 16th. Walk me through when he steps into a federal prison. I mean, this is a shot of the 8 by 7 foot cell that he's sitting in right now. What should he expect? I mean, what is this going to be like?
Well, he's not going to a Club Fed. Club Fed is dead anyway. Because of the severity of his crime, he's not going to a low. He's going most likely, let's say, to a medium security prison. There's no dormitories there. He's going to be living in cell life, and he's going to be radioactive. No one is going to want to have anything to do with him, just like the child pornographers and people that molest children. Everybody in there knows someone that has lost money as far as the economy. People have lost their homes, lost their jobs, and that's also the correctional officers. They've lost money on their pension funds, and they're going to blame Madoff. They're going to point the finger at him. So he's going to have a lonely isolation until he either gets released for some strange reason or he leaves the prison in a pine box. So, no one's going to want to have anything to do with him.
So, Sonny...
Now, everybody in the... Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, hold on just one second, Larry. I want to bring in Sonny here. So he's now locked up there. Walk me through, what does this mean for his family members who perhaps are on the cusp of facing their own level of indictments? The question, of course, is whether or not there was negotiations on the sidelines. Sure. What's going on?
You know, and I think, I don't think it will really impact his family's cooperation. We know after hearing his plea, he said over and over again, this was about me. He didn't quite say I did it alone, but all throughout he said the other business that was run by my sons, that was run by my brother, that was completely legitimate. And in order to prove a conspiracy, you have to have 2 people agreeing to do something and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. And so my guess is his wife doesn't want to talk to the government, his sons don't want to talk to the government, his brother doesn't want to talk to the government. And if they are talking, they're saying, I didn't know anything was going on. And so my guess is the government at this point is certainly looking at his family members, because how could you possibly, Alexis, how could you possibly do something like this alone? I was speaking to some of the victims, and they said they had 8 pounds of paper. They had received statements over the years, and these were investors that only lost $1 million. If you have that sort of attention paid to a victim that only lost $1 million, what sort of attention were they paying to the $3 billion hedge funds victim? So my guess is that there's no way that this could have been done alone, and the government knows that. They are looking at the family members.
So, Larry, let me ask you the question that a lot of people are probably afraid to ask, but it's the reality. How do they handle the fact that once this thing gets itself resolved, that he could perhaps be a suicide risk?
Well, they're going to watch him, okay? He probably will be placed in isolation for a period of time where he's going to be wearing, let's say, a paper jumpsuit, not even a regular uniform, and where most federal inmates are counted 6, 7 times a day, depending where you're at. They'll probably check on Bernie every 10 or 15 minutes just to make sure he's alive, because you have the whole world watching. And he's not going to have any friends. They might actually have to assign an inmate to him to act as his friend just to keep his mind off his problems. He's got a lonely road ahead of him. He's got a lot of things going through his head, and where most federal inmates have an out date. That's what everybody's looking forward to. The day they get out, Bernie knows he's not leaving. Bernie knows he's never going home. And just the thought of that, this is where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Hell, they may have him on psych meds. The BOP, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, they love to push psych meds on people. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was taking psych meds right now. They probably gave it to him last night.
Sonny, you agree. You said he's on suicide watch?
Right. I mean, he is just... Larry's completely right. He's definitely on suicide watch. We know that Kirk Wright, who was another Ponzi scheme perpetrator, killed himself in jail the same day that he was actually convicted. And so we know that he's on suicide watch. He certainly is being offered if he's not taking psych meds. And I think with defendants, I've seen them sort of do the perp walk when they're actually handcuffed. And once he did that and he walked into the MCC, which is not a nice place, Alexis, because I've been there, and not as an inmate, of course, but I've been there and visited defendants, there's just no question that it all came true for him.
What a story. What a story. Larry Levine, great having you on. Thank you for being here. We'd love to have you back in the future. And Sonny, you've been terrific helping us over the past couple of days. Thank you so much.